At Christmas, my mom handed everyone plane tickets for a Europe trip except me, saying I wouldn't fit the vibe. So I booked my own trip somewhere better, posted the photos, and suddenly she wanted to know why I didn't invite her. I said, "You wouldn't fit the vibe." Hey Reddit. So my mom excluded me from a family Europe trip at Christmas because I wouldn't fit the vibe. I responded by booking my own trip somewhere better, posted the photos, and when she asked why she wasn't invited, I threw her exact words back at her. Grab some snacks because this is going to be a long one. I, 28 male, have been the black sheep of my family for as long as I can remember. Not because I did anything wrong. Actually, it's the opposite. I've always been the responsible one, the one who shows up, the one who handles everything while getting absolutely nothing in return. My younger sister Brittany, 25 female, is the golden child who has never faced a consequence in her entire existence. And my younger brother Derek, 23 male, is the baby of the family who can literally set the house on fire, and my parents would blame the matches for being too flammable. Let me paint you a picture of my childhood. When I was 16, I worked every summer at a local restaurant washing dishes and bussing tables to save up for my first car. Saved up $3,000 over 2 years. My parents contributed exactly zero. Meanwhile, Brittany got a brand new Honda Civic for her 16th birthday because she needed reliable transportation for cheerleading practice. Derek got a Jeep Wrangler when he turned 16 because boys need something rugged. I drove a 1998 Toyota Camry with 180,000 miles that I bought myself. The favoritism was so blatant it was almost impressive. Report cards came out. My straight A's got a "that's nice, honey," while Brittany's C average got celebrated because she's trying her best, and that's what matters. When I won the science fair in 8th grade, my parents forgot to come to the awards ceremony. When Brittany got 3rd place in a local beauty pageant that same year, they threw her a party and invited the whole extended family. I remember sitting in that gymnasium alone, holding my trophy, watching other kids get hugged by their parents. The teacher had to drive me home. When I got accepted to a good university with a partial scholarship, my parents said they couldn't afford to help with the rest. They made me feel guilty for even asking, like I was being selfish for wanting an education. When Brittany decided she wanted to go to an expensive private school 2 years later, with zero scholarship money, suddenly they found a way to make it work. They refinanced the house, took out loans, did whatever they needed to do. For her. When I asked why they couldn't have done the same for me, my mom said, "That's different. Brittany has always wanted this." As if I didn't want my education just as much. I put myself through college working 2 jobs. I graduated with honors in computer science, while Brittany changed majors 4 times and took 6 years to get a communications degree that she's never used. Derek dropped out after 2 years to find himself, and has been finding himself on my parents' couch ever since. Guess who's the disappointment of the family, though? The guy who actually has his life together. After graduation, I landed a solid job as a software developer at a tech company in Austin, Texas. Good salary, great benefits, and most importantly, distance from my family in Ohio. I thought maybe putting some space between us would help. Maybe they'd finally see me as my own person, instead of just the responsible one they could ignore. Spoiler alert, it didn't help. Every holiday became this exhausting performance where I'd fly back to Ohio, spend hundreds of dollars on thoughtful gifts for everyone, and receive the most low-effort presents imaginable in return. Last Christmas, I got Brittany a designer handbag she'd been wanting for months. Cost me $400. She got me a gas station gift card for $20. Derek didn't even bother getting me anything. Just said, "I forgot, bro, my bad." And everyone laughed like it was adorable. My mom always had an excuse ready. Brittany's been so stressed with her job. What job? She works part-time at a boutique and lives rent-free in my parents' basement apartment. Derek's going through a rough patch. He's been going through a rough patch for 5 years. At what point does the patch become the whole quilt? The thing that really gets me is that I never stopped trying. I kept showing up, kept making an effort, kept hoping that maybe this time things would be different. Every holiday I'd think, okay, this is the year they finally see me. And every holiday I'd leave feeling like a guest in my own family. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for last Christmas. It was December 23rd, and I had just landed in Ohio after a delayed flight that turned a 3-hour trip into a 7-hour nightmare. I was exhausted, cranky, and honestly questioning why I even bothered coming home. But it was Christmas, you know? Family is family, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. I got to my parents' house around 8 p.m. The whole family was already there. Mom, Dad, Brittany with her boyfriend of the month named something like Chad or Brad. I honestly stopped keeping track. and Derek sprawled on the couch playing video games like it was his job, which technically, it was his only job. My mom greeted me with one of those half hugs where she's already looking past you to see if you brought anything. Oh, you made it. We already ate dinner, but there's some leftovers in the fridge. No, how was your flight? No, good to see you. Just an acknowledgement that I existed and information about food scraps. Whatever. I was used to it. Christmas Eve was more of the same. Brittany dominated every conversation talking about her influencer journey on social media, where she had about 2,000 followers, most of whom were probably bots. Derek complained about how hard his life was, while contributing absolutely nothing to society. My dad asked me twice if I could look at his computer, because it was running slow, which I did, because apparently that's my role in this family. IT support and ATM machine. Then came Christmas morning. We gathered in the living room for our gift exchange like we did every year. The tree was decorated beautifully. My mom always went all out for Christmas aesthetics. Presents were piled underneath, and everyone was in that excited Christmas morning mood. Well, everyone except me. I had this weird feeling in my gut, like something was off. My mom stood up with this huge smile on her face. Okay, everyone, before we open the regular presents, your father and I have a very special announcement. She reached behind the tree and pulled out 3 envelopes. 3, not 4. 3. This year, we decided to do something really special for the family. We're taking everyone on a trip to Europe in April. 2 weeks, 4 countries, France, Italy, Switzerland, and Spain. Brittany screamed like she just won the lottery. Derek actually put down his phone, which was basically the equivalent of a standing ovation from him. Even Chad or Brad or whatever his name was looked impressed, probably calculating how much free content this would generate for Brittany's mediocre Instagram. I sat there waiting for my envelope. My mom handed one to Brittany. Here's your ticket, sweetie. Then one to Derek. And yours, baby. Then one to my dad. And of course, one for you, honey. She sat back down. I looked around the room, waiting for someone to acknowledge the obvious. Nobody did. Mom, I finally said. Where's my ticket? She gave me this look. This look I'll never forget as long as I live. It was a mixture of annoyance and something almost like satisfaction, like she'd been waiting for me to ask. Oh, well. She glanced at my dad, who suddenly found the carpet very interesting. We only had the budget for 4 tickets, and we figured you probably couldn't get the time off work anyway. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. You didn't even ask me. Plus, Brittany chimed in, filing her nails like we were discussing the weather. It's kind of a vibe trip, you know? Like, we want to do fun stuff. Nightlife, late nights, spontaneous adventures. You're kind of not that guy. Derek snorted. Yeah, bro, you'd probably want to go to museums and stuff. Boring. I looked at my mom, waiting for her to defend me, to say something, anything. Instead, she shrugged. They have a point, honey. You wouldn't really fit the vibe. You're so serious all the time. We want this to be a fun, carefree trip. And honestly, you'd probably just bring the mood down. I wouldn't fit the vibe. Let me tell you something about that phrase. It sounds almost innocent, right? Like a casual observation. But what my mother actually said to me on Christmas morning in front of my entire family was, "You're not fun enough to be included. You don't belong with us. We'd rather spend 2 weeks in Europe without you than have to deal with your presence." That's what "you wouldn't fit the vibe" actually means. I sat there in silence for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only about 30 seconds. Everyone had already moved on. Brittany was squealing about what she was going to pack. Derek was Googling best parties in Ibiza, even though Ibiza wasn't even on the itinerary. My dad was studiously avoiding eye contact with me. I stood up. Where are you going? My mom asked, barely looking up from admiring Brittany's reaction. I need some air. I walked out to the backyard and stood there in the cold Ohio winter, staring at nothing. 28 years of being the good son, the responsible one, the one who never caused problems, always showed up, always tried to make things work. And this was what I got. Excluded from a family trip because I wouldn't fit the vibe. Something shifted in me that day. Something fundamental. I'd spent my whole life trying to earn a place in my own family, and I finally realized the truth. I was never going to get it. Not because of anything I did or didn't do, but because they had already decided who I was to them. The afterthought, the obligation, the one they tolerated rather than loved. Fine. If that's how they wanted to play it, then game on. I went back inside and acted normal for the rest of Christmas. Smiled, opened presents, I got a pair of socks and a generic World's Okayest Sun mug that I'm pretty sure was from a gas station, and pretended everything was fine. but inside I was already planning. See, here's the thing about being the responsible one, the one everyone underestimates. You develop certain skills. You learn to plan, to strategize, to think 3 steps ahead. While my siblings were coasting on handouts and charm, I was building something. A career, savings, a life that didn't depend on anyone else's approval. And now I was going to use all of it. I flew back to Austin on December 26th. By December 28th, I had already started researching. Their Europe trip was in April? Perfect. That gave me plenty of time. First, I checked my PTO balance. I had almost 4 weeks saved up because, unlike some people, I actually showed up to work consistently. I requested 2 weeks off for mid-April, the exact same time frame as their trip. Then I started planning my own vacation. But here's where it gets good. I wasn't going to Europe. Europe was basic. Everyone goes to Europe. No, I was going to do something better. Something that would make their 4-country tour look like a trip to the local mall. After researching for weeks, I settled on a trip to Japan and the Philippines. 2 weeks of absolutely incredible experiences. Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, then flying to Palawan for some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. I'm talking world-class temples, incredible food, stunning natural scenery, and experiences they couldn't even dream of. The best part? I could actually afford it. Because while my siblings were mooching off my parents and spending money on VIP tables and designer clothes, I was investing and saving. My trip cost roughly the same as theirs, about $8,000 all in, but I was paying for it myself. No handouts required. I booked everything in January. Flights, hotels, tours, the works. I even splurged on a few luxury experiences. A traditional ryokan stay in Kyoto, a private island hopping tour in Palawan, front row seats to a sumo tournament in Tokyo. This wasn't just going to be a trip. This was going to be an experience. And then I waited. The months leading up to April were interesting. My mom would occasionally text the family group chat with Europe trip updates, restaurant reservations in Paris, hotel confirmations in Rome, that kind of thing. I never responded to those messages. I'd reply to other stuff, just to show I was still alive, but anything Europe-related got radio silence from me. Brittany noticed first. "You're being really weird about the trip stuff," she texted me privately in February. "Are you like mad or something?" "Nope," I replied. "Just busy with work. Have fun." "Okay. Well, try not to be too jealous when we post pictures, lol. I just hearted the message and moved on. In March, my mom called me. First time she'd actually called in months. She usually just texted. "Hi, honey. I just wanted to check in. You've been so quiet lately." "Just been busy, Mom. Work stuff." Right. You know, I hope you're not still upset about the Europe thing. It really wasn't personal. We just thought, Mom, I'm not upset, really. I hope you guys have a great trip." She seemed suspicious, but let it go. "Well, okay. We leave April 12th. I'll send pictures." "Sounds good." What she didn't know was that I was leaving April 11th. The day before their flight to Paris, I was boarding a plane to Tokyo. I had told no one. Not my parents, not my siblings, not even my friends back in Ohio. As far as everyone knew, I was just working like usual, being boring old responsible me. I landed in Tokyo on April 12th, the same day my family was landing in Paris. The irony wasn't lost on me. While they were probably exhausted from their flight and checking into their hotel, I was standing in the middle of Shibuya Crossing, watching thousands of people stream past me in perfect organized chaos. And I started taking pictures. Not a lot at first, just a few shots of the crossing, a temple I visited, some incredible food I ate. I posted them to my Instagram and Facebook with simple captions. "Tokyo Day 1. Best ramen of my life. This city is unreal." I should mention that I had about 400 followers on Instagram. I never posted much, maybe a few times a year. So when I suddenly started posting daily content from Japan, people noticed. The first comment from family came on day 2. I had posted a picture of myself at Sensoji Temple in Asakusa, one of the most beautiful temples in Tokyo. The morning light was perfect, and I'd asked a friendly tourist to take the shot. Brittany commented, "Wait, where are you?" I didn't respond. My mom texted the family group chat, "Is that Japan? When did you go to Japan?" I still didn't respond. Let them wonder. Day 3, I posted a picture from the sumo tournament. Front row seats, massive wrestlers clashing in the ring, the whole incredible atmosphere captured in a single shot. The caption was simple. Bucket list, checked. Derek DME. "Bro, what is happening? Are you actually in Japan right now?" I left him on red. Day 4 was the ryokan in Kyoto. I posted a picture of the traditional room with the sliding paper doors, the view of the private garden, the whole aesthetic perfection of it. Then another picture of the kaiseki dinner, like 12 courses of the most beautiful, artistic food I'd ever seen. My phone was blowing up at this point. Family group chat was going crazy with messages I refused to read. I had 17 missed calls from various family members. But I was too busy actually enjoying my life to care. See, here's what they didn't realize. While they were fighting crowds in Paris, dealing with tourist traps in Rome, and posting the same pictures everyone else posts in front of the Eiffel Tower, I was having genuine, unique experiences. I was the only American at that sumo tournament. The ryokan I stayed at only had 8 rooms and required reservations 6 months in advance. I was eating at restaurants they'd never even heard of, seeing things most tourists never see. And I was documenting all of it. Days 6 through 8 were Osaka, incredible street food, a day trip to Nara to see the deer, and an amazing night scene that didn't require any substances to enjoy. Then, I flew to the Philippines. Palawan was where things really got intense. I'm talking crystal clear water, limestone cliffs, private beaches, the whole paradise package. I booked a 3-day island hopping tour where we visited lagoons and coves that looked like they were photoshopped, but they were real, and I was there. The first day, we kayaked through the secret lagoon, this tiny opening in a limestone wall that opened up into this hidden pool of turquoise water surrounded by cliffs. I sat in my kayak in the middle of this lagoon, completely alone except for a few fish swimming beneath me, and I actually started laughing. Not because anything was funny, but because I felt genuinely happy, genuinely free. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt that way around my family. The second day was even better. We visited 7 different islands, snorkeled in water so clear you could see 50 feet down, ate fresh seafood on a sandbar that only appears at low tide. The boat captain told me stories about growing up in Palawan, about how the islands have changed, and what he hopes for his kids' future. Real human connection with someone I'd just met, more meaningful than most conversations I'd had with my own siblings. I posted a picture from the big lagoon in El Nido, this absolutely stunning emerald green water surrounded by towering cliffs. Caption, found paradise. That's when my mom finally broke. She called me 11 times in a row. I let it go to voicemail each time. Then she sent a text that was basically a novel. I don't understand what's happening. You said you were fine about the Europe trip. Why are you suddenly in Asia? Why didn't you tell anyone? We're your family and we had no idea you were even traveling. This feels very passive-aggressive and hurtful. I think we need to talk when you get back. I read it. I even laughed a little. Then I went back to enjoying my kayak ride through a hidden lagoon. The trip continued for another 5 days. More incredible beaches, more amazing food, more experiences that I'll remember for the rest of my life. I posted almost daily, and every single post got comments from family members ranging from confused to angry to guilt-trippy. I responded to none of them. I got back to Austin on April 25th. My family had been back from Europe for about a week at that point. The group chat had been a constant stream of messages I'd mostly ignored, but I could see the pattern. Initial excitement about their trip, then increasing focus on my trip, then outright obsession with why I hadn't told them. Brittany's Europe posts had gotten maybe 50 to 100 likes each. Standard tourist stuff. Eiffel Tower, Colosseum, the usual. My Japan and Philippines posts were getting 200 to 300 likes and tons of comments from people asking about my itinerary. The algorithm gods were apparently on my side. The confrontation came 2 days after I got back. My mom called, and this time I answered. Hi, Mom. Don't you hi, Mom me. What on earth was all that about? All what? You know exactly what. Going to Japan and the Philippines without telling anyone. Posting all those pictures while we were in Europe. It felt like you were trying to, I don't know, one-up us or something. I let the silence hang for a moment. Mom, I just took a vacation. I didn't realize I needed to clear my travel plans with you. That's not the point, and you know it. Why didn't you invite us? Why didn't you at least tell us you were going? And there it was. The opening I'd been waiting for. Why would I invite you? I asked, keeping my voice perfectly calm. Because we're family. Interesting. You know, I seem to remember being told that I wouldn't fit the vibe of a family trip. I believe the exact words were that I'd bring the mood down. So I figured I'd just plan something for people who actually wanted me there, which in this case was just me. Silence on the other end. I continued. But to answer your question directly, Mom, why didn't I invite you? Because you wouldn't fit the vibe. The vibe of my trip was appreciating culture, trying new experiences, and actually enjoying travel instead of just collecting photo ops. Based on what you told me at Christmas, that's not really your thing, is it? That's not fair. That situation was different. How? How was it different? You planned a family trip and specifically excluded me because you decided I wasn't fun enough. I planned a trip and specifically didn't invite you because, well, same reason, I guess. Doesn't feel great, does it? You're being cruel. No, Mom. I'm being honest. For the first time in maybe my entire life, I'm being completely honest with you. You made it very clear at Christmas where I stand in this family. I'm the afterthought, the one you tolerate, the one who doesn't fit, so I stopped trying to fit. I heard her start to cry, which honestly didn't move me the way it might have a year ago. I didn't mean it like that. We just thought, you're always so serious, and we wanted a fun trip. And I'm sure Europe was very fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it. My trip was also fun, just in a different way. A way that you wouldn't appreciate, apparently. So everyone's happy. I'm not happy. I'm hurt. Welcome to my world. The conversation didn't end well. She hung up on me after accusing me of trying to destroy the family. I sent a text to the group chat that said, I'm available if anyone wants to have an actual conversation about this. Otherwise, I'll be living my life. The aftermath was predictable, but still kind of amazing to watch. Brittany was furious. She posted a long Instagram story that I only saw because a friend screenshotted it about toxic family members and people who can't be happy for others. The irony was so thick you could spread it on toast. She couldn't be happy for me going on an incredible trip, but I was the toxic one. Derek texted me once, "That was cold, bro." I responded, "So was being left out of a family trip on Christmas morning. Guess we're even." He didn't text back. My dad called a few days later. Of all of them, he was the most reasonable, which isn't saying much. Look, son, I know you felt hurt about the Europe thing, but what you did, it felt retaliatory. It wasn't retaliatory, Dad. It was just me living my life. The fact that you all interpreted it as an attack says more about you than me. You knew exactly what you were doing, posting all those pictures while we were traveling. I was documenting my vacation, just like Brittany documents every meal she eats and Derek documents every video game he plays. Why is it different when I do it? He didn't have a good answer for that. Dad, let me ask you something. If the situations were reversed, if I had planned a trip and specifically excluded everyone else because they wouldn't fit the vibe, what would the reaction have been? Silence. You know the answer. There would have been an intervention. Mom would have cried about how I was tearing the family apart. Brittany would have posted about it for sympathy. You would have lectured me about family values and how we need to stick together. Derek would have made jokes at my expense. But when it happened to me, everyone just moved on to opening presents. Nobody even acknowledged how messed up it was. In fact, Brittany and Derek piled on. And you sat there looking at the carpet like it was the most fascinating thing you'd ever seen. I know, he said, and I could hear the shame in his voice. I should have said something. Yeah, you should have, but you didn't. Just like you didn't say anything when I was paying rent at 18 while Brittany lived free. Just like you didn't say anything when I worked through high school while Derek played video games. Just like you've never said anything ever when your other children got more than me. You're right, he said quietly. It wasn't handled well. No, it wasn't. And I spent a lot of years letting things slide, hoping eventually I'd be treated like an actual member of this family. But Christmas made it clear that's never going to happen. So I'm done trying. That conversation was the beginning of a major shift in my relationship with my family. Or rather, the lack of one. I stopped initiating contact. No more texts, no more calls, no more being the one who kept the family connected. And the silence was deafening. Weeks went by without a single reach out from anyone unless they wanted something. Between February and June, my mom contacted me exactly 4 times. 3 were tech support requests. Brittany reached out twice, both times wanting me to validate whatever drama she was going through. Derek didn't reach out at all. Mother's Day came in May. For the first time ever, I didn't send a gift. Just texted Happy Mother's Day and left it at that. My mom called, upset. I just didn't feel like it would fit the vibe, I said. Then I pretended my doorbell was ringing and hung up. Father's Day, same treatment. Birthday cards got forgotten. Holiday trips home became too expensive or bad timing with work. Every excuse they'd ever used on me, I recycled right back at them. The fallout from what I started calling the Japan incident kept hitting my family in unexpected ways. First domino, Brittany's boyfriend dumped her about 2 months after the Europe trip. Turns out he'd been paying attention to how she treated me, and he didn't like what he saw. When she told him the story of the plane tickets, probably expecting him to take her side, he apparently said, "That's actually really messed up," and started pulling back. She blamed me for the breakup, even though I'd never spoken to the guy. Second domino. My parents finally kicked Derek off the couch. Maybe seeing me actually do something with my life made them realize their baby boy wasn't going to magically become productive. He got a job at a cell phone store and moved into a cheap apartment with a roommate. He complained about it constantly in the family group chat. I never responded. Third domino, Aunt Patricia, my mom's sister, called me out of the blue in July. We'd never been close, but she'd seen my travel photos and heard through the family grapevine what happened at Christmas. I just want you to know, she said, that I think what your mother did was wrong. I told her so. She didn't take it well, but someone needed to say it. I found out later that my mom and Aunt Patricia had a massive falling out over this. Apparently, Patricia brought it up at a family barbecue, and my mom caused a scene defending herself. Half the extended family now knows the story of the Europe tickets. My mom's reputation as world's greatest mother took a serious hit. I started dating a woman named Jessica, who I met at a work conference. Told her the family situation early on. First time she met my parents was supposed to be Thanksgiving. Supposed to be. My mom had been texting about Thanksgiving for weeks. We'd love to meet Jessica. It would mean so much to have everyone together. Let's start fresh as a family. Then she sent the menu she was planning. Turkey, stuffing, all the usual stuff. At the bottom she'd written, "And I'm making that green bean casserole Brittany loves." I stared at that text for a long time. In 28 years, my mom had never once asked what my favorite dish was. Never made anything special for me. But she made sure to highlight that she was making Brittany's favorite. I texted back, "Actually, Jessica's family invited us to Colorado for Thanksgiving. We're going to do that instead." The response was immediate. "What? You're choosing her family over yours?" Her family didn't exclude me from a trip because I wouldn't fit the vibe. So yeah, I'm choosing them. She didn't respond for 3 days. When she finally did, it was a long message about how I was tearing the family apart and holding on to grudges, and how Christmas was months ago, you need to move on. I wrote back, "I have moved on. That's the problem, isn't it? Thanksgiving in Colorado was incredible. Jessica's family welcomed me like I'd always been there. Her mom asked about my job and actually listened. Her dad and I spent an afternoon fixing the back porch and talking about nothing in particular. Her brothers included me in their fantasy football trash talk like it was the most natural thing in the world. The cabin was this beautiful A-frame in the mountains outside Denver. There were about 15 people there. Parents, siblings, cousins, an uncle who told the same fishing story 3 times. Normal family stuff. The kind of chaos I'd always seen in movies, but never experienced myself. At dinner, her mom made a point of asking everyone what they were thankful for. When it got to me, I said I was thankful for being somewhere I felt wanted. Jessica squeezed my hand under the table. Her mom got a little teary. Her dad nodded like he understood exactly what I meant. After dinner, her brothers dragged me into a heated board game tournament that lasted until 2 a.m. Nobody asked me to fix anyone's computer. Nobody made me feel like I was taking up space. Her grandmother kept sneaking me extra pie because, "You're too skinny, honey." I realized I'd spent 28 years trying to earn something that this family gave me in 28 minutes. December hit, and my mom started the Christmas campaign. Texts, calls, even a handwritten letter, which she'd never done before. The letter talked about how family is everything, and how she couldn't imagine Christmas without all her children there. I wrote back a single line. "You imagined Christmas without me just fine last year when you handed out those plane tickets." She called crying. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was 9 minutes of sobbing and justifications. "We never meant to hurt you. You're blowing this out of proportion. Brittany and Derek miss you so much." Not one actual apology. Not one acknowledgement that what she did was wrong. I texted her, "When you're ready to actually apologize, not explain, not justify, apologize, let me know. Until then, I'm spending Christmas with people who want me there." Christmas Day, I was in Jessica's childhood bedroom in Colorado, video chatting with her extended family members who couldn't make the trip. Her grandmother told me I had kind eyes and asked if I was going to marry her granddaughter. I laughed and said I was working on it. We opened presents in the morning, and here's the thing that got me. Jessica's mom had gotten me actual thoughtful gifts. A nice watch because she'd noticed mine was scratched up. A cookbook from a restaurant I'd mentioned liking once, months ago. She remembered. She paid attention. She cared enough to put in effort. I almost cried opening them. Jessica noticed and asked if I was okay. I told her I'd never gotten Christmas presents that someone actually thought about before. Meanwhile, my phone was blowing up with texts from Ohio. Photos from Christmas morning. My empty chair visible in several shots. Messages from Brittany saying it wasn't the same without me. Derek sent a selfie with a forced smile. My dad texted just, "We miss you, son." I responded to my dad only, "I miss having a family that treated me like I mattered." Guess we're both dealing with loss. 2 days after Christmas, Derek texted me. This was unexpected. "Hey, can we talk?" I almost ignored it. But something made me respond. "About what?" "I've been thinking about stuff. The Europe trip. How things have always been. I was a pretty terrible brother, wasn't I?" I didn't sugarcoat it. "Yeah, you were." "I know. I'm sorry." Then he did something no one in my family had ever done. He got specific. "I'm sorry for laughing when Mom said you wouldn't fit the vibe. I'm sorry for never standing up for you. I'm sorry for all the Christmas mornings where you got garbage gifts and I said nothing. I'm sorry for piling on instead of having your back." What brought this on? Honestly, working retail. I deal with entitled people all day who treat me like I'm invisible. And I keep thinking, that's how you must have felt. In your own family. I was one of the people making you feel that way. We texted for about an hour. He told me getting kicked out and having to work changed how he saw things. He could finally understand what it was like to try hard and not get recognized for it. I told him I appreciated the apology, but that words were easy. I needed to see consistent action before I could trust him again. "Fair," he said. "I'll keep working on it." 3 weeks later, he drove down to Austin. First time any family member had visited me in the 4 years I'd lived there. We grabbed lunch at this taco place I like, walked around downtown, checked out a guitar shop because he'd been thinking about learning, had actual conversations like normal brothers might have. It was weird and awkward and kind of nice. We talked about his job. Turns out retail is humbling when you've never had to work before. He told me about a customer who screamed at him for 20 minutes over a phone case. "And I just stood there taking it because I need this job," he said. "And I thought about all the times I watched Mom and Dad dismiss you, and you just took it because what else were you going to do? Leave? You were a kid." "Took me 28 years to actually leave," I said. "Better late than never." Before he left, he said, "Mom's losing it, by the way. She didn't get what she wanted for Christmas, you coming home and pretending everything's fine, and she doesn't know how to handle it. Not my problem anymore." "I know. I'm just saying. She's finally realizing she messed up. Whether she'll actually admit it is another thing." February brought the big one. My dad showed up at my apartment. No warning. Just knocked on my door on a Saturday morning. I almost didn't let him in, but he looked exhausted, older than I remembered. So I made coffee and we sat down. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here," he said. "Okay. I've been doing a lot of reading. About favoritism, about family dynamics, about how parents can hurt their kids without realizing it." He set down his coffee cup. "That Christmas with the tickets, I've replayed it 100 times. The look on your face when you realized there wasn't one for you." And I just sat there. "Yeah, you did. I helped plan it. I knew we were leaving you out. I told myself it was fine because you probably couldn't get time off anyway." He shook his head. "That's garbage. I knew it was wrong, and I did it anyway because it was easier than standing up to your mother." I didn't say anything. Just let him keep going. "You deserved better. Your whole life, you deserved better. I watched you work twice as hard as your brother and sister and get half the recognition. I watched you pay rent while they lived free. I watched you get ignored and overlooked, and I never said a word." He looked me in the eye. "I'm sorry. Not sorry you felt hurt. I'm sorry for what I did. What I didn't do. All of it." We talked for 3 hours. He named specific things, birthdays, achievements, moments where he could have stood up for me and didn't. He didn't make excuses. He just owned it. At the end, I told him I appreciated him coming, that it meant something, that I wasn't ready to forgive yet, but this was a start. He asked if he could hug me. I let him. First time in years. After he left, I texted him, "Thanks for coming. That took guts." He wrote back, "Should have done it 20 years ago. Mom still hasn't apologized. Brittany is still playing victim. But I've got my dad actually trying. Derek slowly coming around, and a girlfriend whose family treats me better than my own ever did." If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.